My name is Chlo, and this is the Feed or Flow podcast, where you'll find authentic conversations on how to get your period back and restore your metabolism from years of disordered eating, low-calorie diets, and excessive exercise regimes. No trendy diets of celery juice and broccoli sprouts will be found here. Rather, my mission is to teach you balance and how the foods you've most likely cut out of your diet are the very ones that are essential for health. It's time we stop fearing food and embrace all that it can do for us. Food freedom, vivacious health, and a monthly menstrual cycle is possible, and I'm going to show you how to achieve this type of wellness without obsession. I want to rewind a little bit and go to the beginning of your story. Where did this start? What was your experience with your eating disorder? And kind of what was your journey out of it?
So it started in about 5th, 6th grade. So I was pretty young and just had come to a place where it was sort of a gradual progression where I was modeling, honestly, my mom, who was always on a diet. And I, and I thought that how I looked mattered. I was very athletic. And so I was a swimmer, and that has a tendency to build big muscles. And so I got teased a little bit about my big muscles and thought that that wasn't normal. I'm not supposed to have big muscles when I'm a girl. And so those little seeds that were planted, and I kind of just took it and started developing these habits of like stealing my mom's diet pills or eliminating certain kinds of food in my diet. One of the first things I eliminated was meat. And my family didn't think anything of it because they had previously been vegetarians. And so they're like, oh, this is a healthy lifestyle. This is fine. My mom was very good about altering my meals, making me vegetarian lasagna when they were eating whatever meal she would make me. So I was very accommodated in that. And no one was the wiser.
Well, it's hard because we are kind of in the society inundated with the message of vegetarianism and veganism is so great, so healthy, it's so pure, so clean, that when someone decides to eat that type of way, it's really praised.
Yeah.
It's super, super praised, and it's seen as like something that's good. I talk a lot about veganism because I was vegan previously, and I really used it to hide my eating disorders. And I'm not saying that veganism causes eating disorders. I'm not saying that everyone who is vegan has an eating disorder, but I would say that there are a lot of girls who have eating disorders who go to veganism to hide under it because it's a socially acceptable way to restrict, because people do praise you. People always praise me for it. And so no red flags were off because I'd slapped this label of like, oh, I'm vegan. And they're like, oh, okay. So then that makes sense that you're restricting pizza and hamburgers and all those things. And you're smiling and nodding here. So I'm sure your experience is the same way, where it's like, oh, this is brilliant. I can just tell them I'm vegetarian and they're going to, one, praise me for health, and then two, really not see how much I really am fearful of certain foods.
And it's interesting too that you're talking about this, because when I was a child, that was not sort of the trend of eating. It was more of vegetariarian, yes, but not vegan. Like that was sort of unheard of back then.
It's kind of low fat era, I feel like low carb, low fat
era. Yeah. Absolutely. It was, the newest, greatest fad diet. It was, I remember my mom being on a soup diet. It was literally created for heart patients to lose weight quickly so that they could have surgery. That is what it was for. And that people would like, oh, you can lose weight fast. I'm going to just do this soup diet.
Yeah, so we adapt these things that aren't even like medically appropriate for us. Yes, which is like absolutely crazy. I have a lot of clients who just completely take out salt. And they're like, oh, well, it's really bad for high blood pressure. I'm like, do you have heart issues? Has your doctor told you you have, you need to cut back on sodium? No. This is just the diet I should be doing. And it's just so interesting. So I'm like, you don't need to be doing that anyways. I don't want to dive into the science.
I know.
but we do it with so many different things. And I love how you keep on using the word fad trend, like what was kind of in style. And a client of mine said something the other day and I really loved it. She was like, my food shouldn't be like fashion trends. Like it shouldn't be changing. So like every
Right.
season, a new thing. And she's finally coming to the realization that going back to just basics, going back to balanced is kind of the better way. But I digress.
Yeah.
Let's go back into
Yes.
your story here.
So yeah, so it was just this gradual progression. And as I got older, that's a rough age, junior high, high school. I found myself hiding the fact that I was either avoiding meals. I would literally, I remember sitting in restaurants with my family and taking a bite of something and then very nonchalantly spitting it out of my napkin. I would have just all of these little moments. And then when I would be with my friends, and everybody's, eating all the things, and if I would indulge, then I would get to the place where I would over exercise, or I got to the point where I was forcing myself to uh, get rid of it. And that is when I was entering into, because it kind of came in, I had ups and downs through high school. It wasn't like this constant starvation mode. But when I entered into college, that's when I really got to the point where I was like, I am so sick. And my friends were very concerned. They could tell that something was wrong. They would approach me. I would deny, deny, deny. You guys are crazy. You guys are horrible, and they were coming at me with love. But it was not until I had this realization and I was literally like going to the bathroom on accident. And I was, I had a lot of things. I was like, I don't want to live like this anymore. This is ridiculous. And it was so controlling over my life. And I went back to those people who I knew were concerned about me. And I said, I need help. And so I entered myself into counseling where, and this is an interesting part of it, because I have mixed feelings about the support system that was in place. And granted, this was a while ago. I mean, I don't even think people like you existed back then. And it would have been wonderful. It's such
Coaching
a
really came
needed.
along with like Carolyn Costin, and I feel like her institute has been around maybe 10, max 15 years, not even.
I'm
It is
aging
pretty new.
myself. but but yeah, it just wasn't, so I met with a psychologist, and of course what immediately was given to me was, you need to be on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication, and we're going to have you start journaling about your food and what you're eating every day. And I don't know about anyone
More
else,
obsessed.
but if you're already obsessed about what you're
Yep.
eating and then you have to write it down and journal about it, that was just not what I needed. It was not helpful. It was more harmful than good. And I didn't want to be on the medications. They did not make me feel better. They made me feel worse. And so the one healthy thing that I did get out of counseling was mending relationships with my mother, um, approaching her, and they counseled me through how to communicate that to her, because she had no idea, that the things she had said to me as a child were impacting that and reinforcing, these behaviors and belief patterns I was developing. But that was super healing for me to be able to confront her and say, this is what I went through. And these are things that you said to me that affected me in this way. And she, of course, was like, oh my gosh, but this was just this super healing thing to have happen. And so
thanks for listening to this short clip from the Feed or Flow podcast. To listen to the rest of the show, head on over to your favorite podcast app like iTunes or Spotify. If your period has gone MIA, you're going to want to get her back. She's important for your health and misses you dearly. I've created a juicy online course designed to teach you everything I wish I knew about getting my period back, restoring my metabolism, and cultivating a healthy, nourishing relationship with food. The Get Your Flow On course is designed to empower and inspire you to achieve full recovery. Head on over to Contact.flowwithchlo.com to sign up.